Good afternoon. I want to talk about your always on pedals and why they maybe shouldn't always be on. I have a song here where the producer requested a stereo pair of heavy, he said Linkin Park style guitars. I don't want to get that distorted and woofy and chuggy. I don't think the song necessarily needs it to be like that. You'll hear it when I start playing, but they do need to be heavy and they need to be a tight double of each other, so a stereo left and right pair. When I'm playing these kinds of tracks, I turn off what I consider otherwise to be my always on pedals. Like, I like to have a little bit of reverb on most of the time for most guitar parts. I like to have maybe a slapback on sometimes that stays on, or a short delay or something. All of that gets turned off. All of my overdrives get turned off too. I don't use overdrive pedals for the sort of heavy rhythm tracks that are like the foundation of maybe a chorus part. I don't like the way that they compress my guitar. What I think sounds the best, and what gets the most questions from the control room. The control room's where the producer and the engineer are typically, and I'm out in the tracking room with the rest of the band. When somebody asks me, "Oh man, what are you using? That sounds great," it's usually when I'm just using the amp. I've either tuned my guitar and unplugged from the board and plugged straight into the amp, or I just have all my pedals off and I'm using the amp's volume for gain. And even then, it's not very gainy. The example I like to go back to all the time is Back in Black by AC/DC. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure they used the late 70s master volume 4-input Marshall 100-watt amps on that record. It might be a non-master, but I'm pretty sure they used the master volumes. It wasn't their old Plexi amps. And if you listen to it, they're clean. They smack you in the face so hard, and they're dead clean. I talk about this a lot, but this is just another different way to get at this thing that I'm trying to tell you all. Turn off your reverb, turn off your delay, turn off your slapback, turn off your distortion pedal, turn off your boosts. Maybe a clean boost hitting the front of the amp that doesn't make it break up too much and saturate too much is cool. Sometimes I'll do that. But in a controlled environment like a studio, you can just turn the amp up. Just get it from the amp. It's better than every pedal. Every pedal. So I laid guitars on this. I'm going to do the double here where I'm playing the same thing that I've played on the other side. I've got the one on the left side. I'm going to play the right side. Actually, I'm monitoring reverse of that. For whatever reason, I like to keep the current pass that I'm playing on the left. So I'll move passes that I've laid over to the right. I don't know, I'm weird. But in the studio, I don't move things around because not only do I have faders where my tracks are, but also there's an engineer controlling a 2-mix, and I don't want to reference a guitar on one side that he has on the other. So I typically leave my tracks, I usually have 2 channels on a session. I'll leave those panned the same way the whole session. So let's see here. That was a build, that was a build. Just want to make notes, make sure I do the same thing on this guy. So I'm playing my old trusty 69 Les Paul Custom, totally straight. This is all original. It's got the original gold patent sticker pickups, and I'm going straight into an Analog Outfitters Sarge. I have every pedal off on my board. Well, my tuner's on right now. I will turn that off, and then they will all be off. All the reverbs, all the delays, all the boosts, all the overdrives, everything is off. This is what it sounds like. So let's cut this double. And this is a very we call it the Coldplay beat, where it's bum 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 bum. We've been doing this beat for decades. Coldplay popularized it. So I was even told by the producer we'll have some sort of vibey electric part over all of this as well, but do the heavy guitars in the big sections and then a Coldplay-ish vibey electric in the other sections. So let's do this double guy. outro. Let me just solo those two guitars together, and you can hear that they're pretty clean. It's just amp overdrive, is all I'm using. For me, the best way to get good tone on these kinds of parts is to just bypass the entire pedal board. If you're in a situation where you can unplug from it and go straight into the amp, that's even better, really, because then you're getting the direct interaction of your pickups with the amp's input impedance. When you go through your pedal board, you've got all these in and out jacks, you've got buffers, you've got true bypass pedals, you've got this whole mess of things that are loading and or boosting or buffering your signal. And sometimes you don't get as direct of a relationship between the guitar and the amp. When you're going guitar and amp with just a short cord, that's the other thing, I keep my cables short for sessions. I don't want more than 8 or 10 feet in any spot, really. I don't want 30 feet of cable just sitting there coiled on the floor when I'm sitting 2 feet from my amp. That makes no sense. I'm not trying to darken my tone or soften the top end in that way. There's far better ways to do that. But when you're just guitar, short chord, amp, it's subtle, but you get more string separation, there's more clarity, there's more punch, and there's more control from the volume knobs on your guitar. Anytime you're laying those kinds of tracks, I think you just turn all the pedals off. No boost, no EQ. If you have a good amp, which none of those pedals are going to sound great if your amp sucks. If you have a good amp, let it do its job. It's better than any pedal. So, all right, see you later.